Either you're very young or Rav Dober thinks I'm older than I am. But okay, let's get started. So you guys, is that clear what we just spoke about? You got it?
Yeah.
Sum it up in a nutshell. What was the first class?
Every level. We need the evidence.
Yeah, in one word, I guess that'd be called evidence, right?
You should know what to believe.
Yeah. What's that?
You need to know what you believe.
You got to know what to believe.
You believe.
Oh, interesting. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's just jump right in. Is anyone here new, or everybody? Have I not met anyone here? Yeah. Okay. Okay, but we have an introduction. I don't think I ever gave an introduction ever to anyone ever. So I'll just this is especially for you and for everyone else who never met me. My name is Nia Montoya. My father, prepared to die. Nice to see you. My name is Gabriel Friedman, aka Rav Gav, originating from a place called Woodmere, New York. Heard of it? New York?
Yeah.
All right. Been living here in Israel, Baruch Hashem, for 25 years. Married, got a bunch of kids, like long walks on the beach and guitar. Any questions?
Too many.
What's that?
Too many.
Too many questions?
Yeah.
Give me 4. Moving along. Okay. So just to sum it up very clearly, it's very clear because this is the most important part of the presentation Rabbi Dover just gave. And that is the concept of just understanding what does it mean to know something. What is knowledge? What does it mean when somebody knows something? Knowledge, in just the biggest, way out of something, people like to get out of is like, we can't really know. That's like usually that, you can't really know. Right? So what do you call knowledge? It's like, you can't really know. That's like, I don't know your guys' background, but it's like every modern Orthodox way of getting off the derech. It's like by saying you can't really know, and that's like the way out. But what does that mean? You can't really know. What does it mean to know something? How do you define knowledge? So the way that Dober just said, I'm just going to use a couple different words, but it's the same concept. And that is, knowledge is when you have enough evidence that puts something into a realm where it's now reasonable to say that that is the case. That is what we call knowledge. And when I say that's what we call knowledge, where did I get the definition?
Court.
From you. What do I mean? You call things knowledge. You say the word I know. What do you mean when you say that? Do you mean you know 100%? And it says you know, you have enough that it makes sense to say that it's a case. Anything you've ever said that you know, is it possible you're wrong? Even a possibility, yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
Right? Even though it's pointing in an incredible way, but there's a possibility. But you don't really care about that possibility. It's not that we ignore it, but it's just there's so much on the other side that therefore I'm going to go along with this concept. Right? Okay. So that being the case, that's why it's so important. Someone asked me a question once, I want to learn this information. I can go back to college campuses, have a conversation with people. It's like, you're wasting your time. Because on college campuses, it's not about knowledge. It's about how do you feel. That's all it is. So there's no real conversation. It's a conversation of, I don't like what you have to say, therefore, whatever. And we know that there are those who have said, facts don't care about your feelings. But the other side is, yes, they do. Okay? No, yes. Well, in that case, you said it so eloquently. It might as well be true. Just because you feel something doesn't change it. This is important to know. If I feel there is a God, that doesn't mean that there is a God. And if I feel that there isn't a God, that means that doesn't mean there isn't a God, right? It's not a matter of like how I feel about something. It's a matter of just facts on the ground. Fotting, F-O-T-G, fotting, facts on the ground. What's the fotting, right? What's your facts? What's your evidence? All right, so when we say we know something, if anybody thinks, and probably I'll bring it into picture, right? Anybody here would think this is the most important piece of information that you need to know something, knowledge, too long a word, so to that. This is right. Get ready for it. Here we go. I'll even bring you back to high school for 1 second. What does that mean?
Does not.
No.
Knowledge
Roughly estimate.
does not equal 100%. So what does it equal then? A lot of percent. In other words, when you have, at least if you're being cold-blooded killers, which some of you are, then we're looking for 51. If I was looking at 51%, I'd like 60, 80, 90, 99. But even if I don't have 100, it doesn't matter. Like what Dober ended with the concept of how do you know your mom is your mama? Right? Just because someone looks like someone or someone told it. Okay, but when you have enough evidence, it's compelling enough, the court of law, and whatever it may be, it comes out to be that we say that this is called knowledge. So when I say the word knowledge, anybody who's looking for 100%, you're not being intellectually honest because you don't have 100% of anything. So therefore, at least give religion a fair shot. The time that we need 100% is only in areas that we don't want something to be. Everybody got that? When do I not want 100? When do I need something to be 100%? Only if I don't want the thing to be. Therefore, I'll say, well, it's not 100%. You know it's 100% when you drink this water over here, then it's actually water. You know it's 100% you're in Israel. I hope that's water. You don't know 100% you're crossing the street. You don't know 100% anything, but you're willing to go with it because I want to do it. So therefore, I'm going to now find a way to do it. And then if I don't want something to be, and a lot of us have a kickback. There's a little bit of a, that what happens. We don't want this to be true because if this thing called Judaism and Torah and God is true, that means I'm stuck and I have to do something, but I don't want to do it. Okay, so then just don't do it. No, it's true, don't do it. No, but then I feel guilty. So I want to be able to not keep it and not feel guilty, so let me find a way out. Everybody get that? So it's an uphill battle. We're willing to accept a lot of things that won't impact our lives, but as soon as something impacts your life, all of a sudden, we got to hold it to a higher standard. That's not fair. That's not being intellectually honest. So what do we have to hold it to? Evidence. Enough evidence. Now, what's called enough evidence? The answer is you decide. Every one of you decides what you call, I feel a level of knowledge, or I feel a level of belief, or I feel a level of faith, whatever it is. So in which case, what's called enough? That's up to you to decide. I'm going to try to bring along some ideas, and you make a decision what you want to do with it. All right, so far so good. Are we clear? Okay. If there are any questions that come up during this presentation does need the time that's allotted, but if you have something you don't understand, feel free to ask. But if you're going to ask something that has nothing to do with, like, why Amalek? It's a very good question, but it has nothing to do with the class, right? So let's try to stay focused. Oh, here we go.
Just a quick one. How can you say that you don't know anything for sure 100%? Like, I know this is coffee 100%.
You know it's coffee.
Yeah.
Anybody want to take that one?
He doesn't know 100%. You have some evidence. The number 100% is crazy. It's not 100%.
What do you mean? I made it myself.
So what? It's not 100%.
You made what? You made what?
Ah, okay. Took it out of the jar, I put it in.
One second. You're good now?
So we're saying that's not 100%?
I don't know. I'm not saying anything. I'm asking you.
I feel very confident it's coffee. But maybe it's not 100% you're saying. I'm just trying to understand.
I think what I said is, like, today I'm going to try to be a man. And I'm going to say actually what I mean.
Okay.
So if you ask me, well, do you mean not 100% when you say not 100%? And it's just, yup. And so when my wife says, what do you want for dinner? I say chicken. She goes, well, what do you mean? I say, I mean chicken. And so actually what I'm saying I mean. So if you had something you had differently, so just go back to what words did he say? And then try to understand it straight up. You took something out of a jar. You don't know what's in that jar. You have no idea. You're believing that someone who told you because it says with coffee, but it smells like something someone told you. There's a lot of fake stuff going around. You don't know 100% anything. Weiter. Okay, so now let's go to a conversation. I hope this thing works. Hashem, please. Lord Almighty, thank you. Okay, you see that? There's a God. So now, there's a... Hashem is good. Okay, so now, you have King Louis XIV, sugar water. Drink it up. Okay, we got King Louis XIV, the Blaise Pascal. This conversation goes back to where the conversation happened, and that would be in the 1600s, the 17th century. King Louis XIV was a king. He did some big stuff as a king. Pascal, maybe you've heard of Blaise Pascal. Some of you are just familiar with the word Blaise. That is something else, but this is a guy's name was Blaise Pascal. He was the advisor of King Louis. If you know a little math, you may have heard of Pascal's triangle, Pascal's theorem. If you know a little bit of philosophy, you may have heard of Pascal's wager. In any event, Pascal was a Christian philosopher, and he very much believed in God. King Louis, on the other hand, he was what's known as agnostic. Agnostic, just for clarity purposes, means I do not know. Maybe yes, maybe no. I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes, as opposed to the silly word called atheist. A meaning what? What does A mean? Not. What's theist?
Religion. Theology.
Believe.
God.
Sure.
Atheist means not believer?
Sure.
No God. Not a theist.
What's a theist?
Believer in God.
You know, it's just religion.
Yeah. And it's just a little bit more than agnostic because it is the negation of, as in atypical, right? What does that mean? That the negation, getting rid of it, it's not. To say something is not, you'd have to be everywhere in the world simultaneously, both physically and metaphysically. You hear that? You want to tell me? Right now, I don't see God because he's in Australia. Shout out for you. Right? New Zealand, wherever you're from. Just kidding. Right? Same thing. So relax over there, okay? Just relax, everyone. And that is, understand, to say there's not, that's a very hefty statement. What do you got?
So we said that it's not knowing it's not 100%.
So maybe the atheist knows, like he's saying God doesn't exist on the same level that someone will say God does exist.
Right. So if someone wanted to say the following idea, say, what I mean by that is, what I mean by the concept of atheism is, I have yet to have been shown enough evidence that leads me to believe that this is the case, then we're good. But I believe that that's what's called an agnostic, in which case we just said the word is the same word. These are two different words.
And a believer would also be agnostic.
Sure, no problem. It's just belief, correct. As opposed to a knowledger. We'd have to have two words, right? We have agnostic over here, we have atheist over here, we have believer over here, we have a knowledger over here, right? In which case, you can call it the same idea. I have enough that puts it in, I don't have enough that's putting it in, as opposed to saying that it is not the case. Agnostic is I don't have enough, I don't know. Atheist is like, it's not, for sure. This is where we're shutting it down. So therefore, but it's semantics. Let's get caught up in the semantics. The bottom line is that they had this conversation back and forth. How do you know there's a God? And so he would say, how do you know? And Pascal would say, this is how you know. How do you know? This is how you know. How do you know? And now, he goes, enough, Pascal. I want you to give me clear evidence of a supernatural force. He says, you want clear evidence of a supernatural force? Who's French? Who speaks French?
I speak French.
Yeah, last word.
Supernatural? Oh, les Juifs.
Les Juifs. Translate.
The Jews.
You answer something. Right, the Jews. Right? The Jews, Your Majesty. You want evidence of a supernatural force? The Jews. Says a Christian philosopher to an agnostic king. This is how you know there's a God, because of the Jews. Now, what in the world does he mean when he says that? What is supernatural about the Jewish people? The fact that we still exist today is quite unbelievable. The fact that we just exist. Let's take a look and see a quote from our boy, Mark and Mark Twain. Although his name was Samuel, he was not Jewish and probably anti-Semitic. But he says the following idea. The Egyptian, the Babylonian, and the Persian rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, then faded to dream stuff and passed away. The Greek and the Roman followed and made a vast noise, and they are gone. Other people have sprung up and held their torch high for a time, but have burned out, and they sit in twilight now are vanished. The Jews saw them all, beat him all, and is now what he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no infirmities of age, no weakening of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert and aggressive mind. All things are mortal but the Jew. All their forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality? Okay, a fascinating observation. Let me share with you another idea. Does anyone here know someone named Leo? Do you know someone named Leo? And picture a Leo in your mind. And was this what you were picturing? Okay, there's a guy named Leo Tolstoy Nikolaevich, also a non-Jew. Again, it's important I say a non-Jew, because if I say a Jew, you're like, okay, a Jew. If I say a non-Jew, you're like, oh my gosh, a non-Jew said it? It's true. Okay, says Leo Tolstoy the following idea. The Jew is the emblem of eternity, whom neither slaughter nor torture of thousands of years could destroy, whom neither fire, nor sword, nor inquisition was able to wipe off the face of the earth. He was the first to produce the oracle of God, who has been for so long the guardian of prophecy and transmitted to the rest of the nation. Such a nation cannot be destroyed. The Jew is as everlasting as is eternity. Yeah! The fact that we exist today is unbelievable. That's an amazing statement right there. What is the secret of his immortality? The Jew is everlasting as eternity. Now we see the fact that we do exist today is quite a phenomenon, right? And something to not to take lightly. Now the question is as follows. You see, we're going to try to take a look and see, does that play any role over here? Now there's something fascinating. You know, we have this thing called the Torah. We know the Torah exists. We have it. The only question is, where did the Torah come from? And that's essentially what we're going to be doing through the Discovery. There's other classes today also? So you're going to go through the Discovery Seminar. The goal is to try to figure out, how do we know this is actually true, right? That's the question over here. So we have this thing called the Torah. Now the Torah either came from the supernatural, right, that we call God, or it came from something which was natural. It came from a person, a group of people, of individuals. Is that clear? Right? Those are the two options. Now there are many people that would like to think it came from God. I'm not going to take that away from anyone. You can believe whatever you want, crackpots. But I do want to show you today actually didn't come from God. It came from people. I'm going to show you. Now don't leave yet, please. But I'm just going to show you. This came from. Let me just quickly jump to the end in case someone does leave. It came from God. The end. Thank you for coming. But now, in the model I'm going to use is the following. I'm going to try to show you that this thing called the Torah came from people. I'm going to be unsuccessful in showing that to you. You are then going to be able to see, based off my unsuccessful attempt over here, that it had to come from something that wasn't natural, but rather supernatural. Now, it's important to get, because a lot of people think like, oh, so it's not this, therefore it's God. That's not what I said. I said, based off what you are going to see, we're going to have two options here. You will clearly be able to come out with the fact that this does not make sense to come from something natural, but it had to come from something which is supernatural, and we give that a name. We call it God. You can call it Dave, Bob, or Mike. It doesn't change anything. We're going to call it God, and that's what we're going to be looking for. Is it clear in the model? I'm going to show you it came from people. You're not going to be able. You're going to see that doesn't make sense, and you're going to come out to see it's got to be something which is beyond that. Is that clear? Clear model? Okay. So let's start from the beginning. Gentlemen, I want you to forget anything you know about Judaism. Well, that was quick. Now, I'd like to. This is what's going to be. I would like to start a religion. You guys will be the committee. I'll be the Moses, naturally. And I want you to tell me if you think this makes sense. We're going to try to get this off the ground. Try to sell this thing and try to make this thing work. All right, here we go. People, thank you for coming. Don't forget there's some delicacies in the back if anybody wants to fatten up a little. Gentlemen, we are going to start a religion today, and I like to call it Judaism. Of course, there's one of you in the room that goes, excuse me, why Judaism? I say, because I had a cat named Judaism. Back off. All right, so I'm going to call it Judaism. And I got to start with a prophecy, because what's a religion without a prophecy? It's a religion without a prophecy. But I want to start a religion with a prophecy. So we're going to start off, we're going to say that we are going to be an eternal nation. Is that? Would you agree that that's a good sales pitch?
Yeah.
Yes or no? Good sales pitch. Now, this could be an age thing. The younger we are, the less we care about this. The older we get, it's like we want to make sure there's something eternal. It's a legacy. This makes sense. We're not just doing it for nothing. All right, so you guys get the concept. We want it to be on part of something which is bigger than just a few minutes or a few years. We're going to be an eternal nation. Now, I'm going to show you, actually, interestingly, where this is prophesized in my book. And if you take a look, it says the following idea. This is, bring it closer, come on, Genesis chapter 17, verse 7. And I quote, "And I will establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you throughout their generations, an eternal covenant to be your God and the God of the descendants after you." What does eternal mean?
Forever.
What's a covenant?
Contract.
A contract. We got an eternal, invoidable contract over here, right? So this is an amazing thing. We're going to be here forever. Or take a look at another quote, which is found in Leviticus, the third of my 5 books. Thus, even while they are in the land of their enemies, I will not reject or obliterate them, lest I break my covenant with them by destroying them. For I am the Lord their God. I will remember them because of the covenant I made with their original ancestors when I brought them to the land of Egypt and the side of the nations, so I might be their God. So you see, it is prophesied in my book that we are going to be an eternal nation, right? So far, so good? Okay. Now, the question, though, is as follows. If I say that we're going to be an eternal nation, right? I mean, anybody here who's been involved in any sort of business will be aware of the fact that, like, you're going to want to see, like, so what's your game plan? Like, how are you going to pull this off? If I'm trying to committee, we're going to be an eternal nation. How are we going to make sure we're an eternal nation? Well, the answer is, very simple. Very simple, right? We know that 95% of wars are fought over what? They're fought over land. 95% of wars are fought over land. So we have things that fight over land, so then, all right, then there's like a theme. When people stay on their land, they end up generally surviving longer than if they're kicked off their land. Everybody get that? That's historical, right? We know that when you have a war, someone kicks them off their land, and then what happens within a short period of time, they get assimilated, they get wiped out, they get finished, it's over. So, just like people have, like, say, an eternal national homeland, we're going to have also, like, an eternal national homeland, and then we'll never leave that land. Is that a good beginning to how I'm going to ensure longevity? A good beginning. Now you may ask, how am I going to guarantee that? But before we even get there, clearly my next prophecy is going to be something to do with the fact that we're going to stay in our land, which is why my next prophecy is what we call exile and dispersion. Good plan for longevity? No. The answer is this would be a terrible plan for longevity. As we all know the phrase, united we fall, divided we stand. That's not it, right? I didn't think so. Right, that's way off. In other words, you guys stick together. Let's stay in our place. We got exiled like all over the place. Let's take a little short list of places that we've been chucked from. So we got France, and Arab lands. And if you look and you search, then you will find it. We've been chucked time after time, but God will be waiting. We've been chucked all over the place, over again and again and again. And where was it prophesied, my friend? Well, take a look. And you all will scatter among the nations at the point of my drawn sword, leaving your country desolate and your city in ruins. Or another quote, I appoint heaven and earth as witnesses for you today that you will be cut off quickly from the land you are crossing the Jordan to acquire. You shall not remain there long, for you shall be wiped out. God shall then scatter you among the peoples. You will be left few in number among the nations where God will lead you. A lovely bedtime story. Nighty night, sweet nightmares. All right, so we see we're going to be exiled and dispersed. Would that be a good plan for longevity? Yes or no?
No.
That's called strike number one. As my committee clearly, yeah. What do you got?
It would be very reasonable for somebody to assume if they're in a land around a whole bunch of nations that it'd be very likely for them, in fact, to be exiled and dispersed, and they wouldn't be able to stay in their land. I just frankly disagree with the fact that that'd be the best way to survive.
It would be the best. I think you said two separate statements there.
Yeah.
You said two separate things, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so help me.
So the first thing,
Yeah.
it's unlikely that they would have been able to stay in their place. So if I was a prophet and I was designing a religion, then I would say, it's very likely you're going to be dispersed. And in fact, then you might come back one day and be together.
Well, that wasn't the thing we said, right? What we said is we're going to be exiled dispersed, and we're going to come back, and we're going to survive.
Right.
And we have the luxury of being around
I'm saying that's
thousands
a
of
more
years later.
reasonable thing to say than we're just going to stay in one place. That's what I'm trying to say.
You're right with the first part of it. In other words, the fact that we've been exiled and dispersed.
Right.
For the fact to say we're going to be an eternal nation, though, and then say exiled and dispersed is a contradiction in terms. Leave out the eternal nation
I
part.
disagree.
Oh,
I'm going to be an eternal nation.
Yeah.
Says that gives a lot of people comfort knowing that their religion, their prophecy is going to be existing forever, right? Because we're building a religion for the
Are
masses.
you smart or are you stupid?
I'm stupid.
So how are you saying all these intelligent things?
These are some of the things that I've been thinking about.
So I'm going to argue with you.
Okay.
I think you're smart. I think you're playing on both sides of the playing field here. So you got to make up your mind. Are you
Okay.
smart or are you stupid? Because if you're stupid, then we just believe anything, nothing matters. We don't need anything. Just say, hey guys, let's jump into the fire.
Right.
And if you're smart, so then you say, hold on one second, we're not going to be an eternal nation and exile and dispersed. That doesn't work.
But again, you're trying to convince people, right?
Smart ones or stupid ones?
Stupid people.
Okay, so don't go so smart. You can say whatever you want, they're going to go along with you. Give them candy.
But there might be smart people in that group that would
So
say,
then they speak up and say, no, hold on one second.
right.
So
And
that's
you
why I
have to
said,
convince them.
like Eliyahu Nov said, Ad Masai Temposkim Shnei Seifim. We're going to play the fence over here.
Right.
This is, by the way, one of the theories people like to go, no, all the Jews are stupid. What about this? Okay, no, they were smart.
Yeah.
No, they were stupid. Which one? Pick a theory. And then, well, half were smart and half were stupid. Right, so then what happens to those ones?
It's just a population distribution. We see the
Right,
fact there are
right.
smart
You're
people and
gonna-
dumb people.
correct. You're definitely gonna have smart and stupid. That's not a question. The question in terms of getting these things off the ground.
Right.
But I'm not disregarding what you're saying. Let's keep it going and see how it plays out.
Sure.
So we have this concept of, and then the question of saying afterwards, well, what's going to come from it? That's already the next question about
Right.
what's going to be, and that we see. That we could say like what we call in Talmudic terminology translated by Arts Code, we would call this ex post facto, known as a b'diavad. After the fact, it's a good idea to go and say something. A priori, known as a lechatchila, it would be a pretty silly thing to go put these two things together, right? To say that this is something that's going to happen. Gentlemen, join my religion. We are going to be exiled and dispersed. Everyone's like, I am so excited to join your religion now. You understand? This is something to question. What do you got?
How would you respond to someone who makes the argument that it's whoever created the religion created it only to be sustained during their lifetime? They were concerned about their own life and the consequences of the religion of their lifetime. So they produce a religion where almost outlandish things are made
Yeah.
that aren't going to last, but they don't care because they'll be dead.
So the ultimate answer that I have to both of these questions we touched upon for a moment is the luxury of hindsight. And what I mean by that is we're now thousands of years later. At the time, maybe you can claim such an idea, and then we would expect to find what happens to them, like every other nation, the Egyptians, Romans, Babylonians, Babylonians, Fatimans, Abbasids, that they'd be wiped out and they'd be gone, it'd be finished. The fact that we're still here, and yet those claims are being made. So my question now is not so much a question of then, because then they had the prophecies straight up and they had the revelations. The question isn't for them. The question is for us in the year 2025, or in Tafshin Pei Vav if you prefer, and that is to go and take a look and see, well, did this really happen? Is it really true? So when we look back, then we get the hindsight, we get the ability of thousands of years to see that how it's played itself out. You get it? And I think that addresses both of them at least a little bit. But we're going to play it out a little more. So now we have the following. Excellent questions and a wonderful answer, dare I say. Okay, so now we have the following. Now you're still sitting here though, committee, and like I still want to get this off the ground. Again, this is very important. At the time, they didn't need me to convince them, because at the time they had Sinai Revelation, which you're going to see. They had all they didn't need all this kind of stuff. This wasn't relevant. You don't need to prove prove to me, at the time that I'm married to my wife, you don't have to prove to me that I'm married to my wife. It's only like years later when you're looking back, did that really happen? Right? That's really the question is. And I ask myself, did I really get married? Fine. But the point is, it's a different discussion. I'm not dealing with therapy. Fine. So now we have exile and dispersion. Now the next question is as follows. So how am I going to get this off the ground? Don't worry, committee. I have an idea. Even though we're exiled and dispersed, that make sure that we are going to survive. Let's take a look and see other people that have been around for a very long time, and maybe we'll borrow their methodology of survival. So we got China, India, Japan. They've been around for a very long time, thousands of years, with the same culture intact. That's pretty impressive. Let's try to use their methodology. So let's take a look from them. Let's start with China. Japan. How did Japan survive for so long? How were they able to survive so long?
The land. It's where they are. No one can
They're an island.
Answer is because Japan is located in the middle of Japan. It's isolated. If you want to get to Japan, you can't just one day say, hey, I'm going to take a little hop, skip, and jump to Japan. Like, it doesn't work like that. You can't just get to Japan. Back in the day, the travel was basically by land or by sea. And to go by land, no, that was the most common. Going by sea is quite treacherous. And people actually tried to overtake Japan twice. What happened? The Mongols monsoon in 1600, and they got totally wiped out by typhoon. It was unbelievable. So let's do the same thing that Japan did, and we're going to put our land also just like Japan, and we're going to put it in the middle of nowhere like Japan. And that's why our land also is in the middle of everywhere. It's called the Middle East. You know that Israel is the land bridge between three different continents. Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach. It's a land bridge between three different continents. If you want to make your way to Africa, Asia, and Europe, the way to go is through the land of Israel. Everybody get that? Israel has been conquered in upwards. Take your time, house. Israel has been conquered. Yerushalayim. Anyone know how many times Yerushalayim has been conquered?
36.
52?
36.
So I read 36, but I'm okay with going with 52. I'm happy with that. Right, the answer is that it's been. Rabbi, you know how to fix this? I don't know what I did.
Click now playing.
Just click it.
No, with the remote.
Do this. Forget it. We got Dylan on the scene, and action. We're talking about over 30 times, right? Have you seen anybody been on a tunnel tours before?
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw. Anyone not been there before? Raise your hand. You've never been there before. You got to go. When I say you got to, I don't mean you actually have to. What I mean is it'd be worthwhile to go. It's literally right here, and I could set up for you if you want. I could set it up. I charge 2,000 checkout, and then I'll set it up for you. I think they charge like 25, but I'll give you a tour. Okay. Anyway, I'm not charging you anything. Go over there. Yeah, and it's worthwhile to see how it goes. We're talking about baby going down, 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 down. Think about low, low, low. It goes all the way down. And while you can't see, it's like build the bomb, build the bomb, build the bomb. What? Build the bomb, build the bomb, build the bomb. Hey, build the bomb, build the bomb. About 8 times I was conquered and reconquered, 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 conquered, and conquered again. Right? So we clearly didn't pick a good place if we want to make sure that we're going to survive like Japan. So what about India and China? How did they survive for so long? Don't get caught up by Nepal. Just a quick little hint. Right, billions of people. There are so many people there. If you try to conquer India or China, you become Indian and Chinese. It's a crazy phenomenon. Now they had the Ottoman Empire, did a good job for a little, but eventually it crashes. We take a look and see, let's do the same thing. Just like in India and China. They survived because of so many people. My next prophecy is we're just going to be few in number. Good plan? Good plan for survival? As we all know, it's about numbers. The smaller we are, the more likely we survive. Once again, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. The smaller you are, the more likely you're going to be destroyed and killed and annihilated. Yeah, let's take a look and see, a little prophecy again coming from me, and that is the following from my book, and you shall remain few in number among the nations where God shall lead you. I think that's like the most clear, straightforward one over here. You're going to be few in number. Now, there's always someone in the room who wants to ask or does ask, well, hold on one second. What about Abraham? When the Lord Almighty cameth to Abraham and said to him, Abraham, are we the children that you? That's what we said to him. But God said to Abraham, your people are going to be like thee. Stars in the heavens. You're going to be so much. You're going to be so many. But over here it seems to say not like that. You shall remain few in number among the nations where your God shall lead you. Answer is my next prophecy, and that is, you shall remain few in number. Whereas you could have become as numerous as the stars in the heavens because you would not obey the voice of the Lord your God. We see that the amount of people we will be is contingent on our behavior. The fact that we will exist, though, that's an eternal covenant. We're going to survive. The question is, how many will be, that will fluctuate, it will wane and will wax like the moon, assuming that it's all dependent on the way that we're actually behaving. So we see we're going to be few in number. Now, if you stop and think about this for a second, it's a little bit crazy. The first mitzvah in the Torah is Peru Urevu, be fruitful and multiply. Gentlemen, I'd like to make clear, this means with your spouse. Okay, you got to have kids. All right, having kids. And we know the average secular couple has between 1.2 kids and a dog. I know what you're thinking. Where's the 0.2? Now, the average ultra-Orthodox family has between 14 and 45 children. That's not really true, but a lot of kids. We are an ancient people. We have a high birth rate. We should have lots of Jews. But how many Jews do we actually have? Let's take a look at the little study. Okay. You know that there was a census done in year 200 BCE. The population of China was at 30 million in 200 BCE. That is before Corona era. Right, that's 30 million. Now, today, this is not accurate. It should be an 8 or even a 2 at this stage. Right, we're talking about close to 2 billion people. Now, let's say we were to estimate in year 1 CE that the Jewish people were approximately at 6 to 8 million. 6 to 8 million people. If we're 6 to 8 million people and we took the same growth rate as China, you don't have to. I'm saying even if you did take the same growth rate with all of them euthanasia, then today we should be somewhere between 250 and 750. We're talking about like a nice 400 mil. That's where we should be chilling at. 400 million Jews. How many Jews are we today?
15.
Approximately 15 million Jews, which is that little line on the bottom. I just want you to show you this like on a pie chart, because let's face it, we all love pie. And that is that this would be China, that would be India, and they're the Jews. That's why every Jewish woman goes, can I get a little slice? Can I just get a little slice? Just a little slice. You cut them a little slice, they walk away with the rest of the cake. Enough about my family. But the point is that we are unbelievably small. It's a crazy concept to fathom over there. Does that support longevity, being very small in number? The answer is not really. We're in number 2, but yes, my friend, what do you got?
I would also disagree in that fact, because if you're few in number, you can easily control your religion, and you have a lot more, significant more of a chance of surviving as a culture and as a people.
You know what you could also do significantly as small number? You could significantly die.
Okay, but we know that we're in a eternal covenant.
You understand what I'm saying? Yes, you're right. The smaller the group is,
The
easier control we have. But also we have the easier death we have. I think that's a fair rebuttal.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I just want to say that you addressed this completely in your last point, which is
Right.
we're not looking
Hindsight.
at, and now we're looking at hindsight. Because it came true, that's what we're looking at.
Sorry, but
Not because
that's
it was
the
made.
only.
First of all, you Canadian.
Yeah.
Oh, that's way okay. Carry on.
That's the only that's the only way we can view this, right?
You
I
apologize.
can't go back 2,000 years.
No, we
I
are.
have to
That's what
apply
you're doing
this.
now.
We're doing
Right.
That is what we're doing. That's the point.
No, you're saying I can't make this argument because of hindsight. I'm like, well, obviously I have to make these arguments because of hindsight.
That's right, and we have to respond to the turn.
Right.
But afterwards, we will hug trees.
Fantastic.
Lean at it. No guarantees on that. You know I knew you're Canadian, right?
Yeah.
How did I know?
Because
Because you started by saying sorry.
Oh.
This guy went straight at you.
Yeah.
He's from New York or something. And where are you from?
LA.
Oh, okay. Wow, interesting. Valley?
No, like city.
What? Like city? All right, good. Nice. You went straight up with you. Okay, so we're going to few in number. Good answer, good question, great rebuttal, wonderful backup. Moving along. Okay, so now we have the next one. Don't worry, gentlemen. Even though we'll be exiled and dispersed, and even though we'll be few in number, I have a plan to make sure we're going to survive. It's a very simple plan. And the Beatles wrote a whole song about this. The Beatles were a band in England many years ago, and they wrote a song, All You Need Is Love. Ba-ba-da-da-da. Right? Okay, so that's simple. My next prophecy is that we are going to be hated by everyone.
Yeah.
And of course, that is a good plan for survival. Now, I know that many like to say, yes, that keeps us intact and it keeps us together and keeps us not separate. And that's all true, but it also keeps us dead. You understand, if there's someone's actively trying to destroy you and annihilate you and kill you, yeah, there's a good chance that the whole world feels that way, that there's going to be a fat chance we're going to survive. Okay, so let's take a look and see like just a little bit of our discussion in our book, of course. And those of you who survive the lands of your enemies, I shall make so faint-hearted that it leaves also behind them. They will flee headlong as if from the sword, no one pursues them. Stumbling of one another as if to escape a weapon, while no one's after them. So helpless will you be to take a stand against our foes. You shall perish among the nations, and the land of your enemies shall consume you. Or another beautiful one. Among those nations you shall find no respite, no rest for your foot. There God will make you cowardly, destroying your outlook. And you'll be terrified, never show of your existence. In the morning you'll say, if only we're night. In the evening you'll say, if only we're morning. Such will be the dread that your heart will feel, and the sights that your eyes will see, because of, obviously, the love that the nations of the world have for us. And what I mean by love is loving us to death. Right? Okay, so my friends, we see, interestingly, what's going to be, there's a crazy hatred that's going on. Yeah, what do you got?
We're not the only faith, though, that says you be hated.
Okay, great. So there's others that also say it. That's not a contradiction.
Why can't they use that as a selling point?
Maybe they could, and I think they should. And hopefully they'll start a seminar. All right. So now we were the following. And this is the Gemara in Shabbos. The Gemara. And this isn't we don't have exclusivity on being hated. You know what I'm saying? Other people could also be hated. I'm just pointing out that the Torah is telling us that this is going to happen, and it did happen. Right? So this is like what we're asking over here, and yet we still survived. Right? That's the point of here. Right? Say it again. Great. Fantastic. And if I cared enough to go into this right now, we'd go back and forth to show that I hear that, but that doesn't prove anything. But over here, this is talking about something where it's actually prophesized and coming before, being said that's going to be the case, playing it out to such a degree and such a level. It's quite astonishing, as we're going to see in a moment. This will be the Gemara. It's Gemara and Shabbos, part of the oral tradition that's on page 89A. If you're learning art school, it's probably 89A folio 6 or something like that. It's a big daf. Right? If you take a look at, maybe it's 4. But if you take a look at the very bottom of the page, the Gemara says the following, something fascinating. 3 lines from the bottom. I'll use this thing to see if you can see it. Right over here. You see, does that come up over there? Yeah? The Gemara says like this, My Har Sinai. For those who don't read any Hebrew or Aramaic, you're just going to have to trust me, suckers. Okay, so My Har Sinai. That means, what is Mount Sinai? Says the Gemara, Har Sheyarda Sina Le'akum. Now, it's fascinating is that even those who grew up religious, like myself, believe it or not, never heard this idea until I heard it, until I heard the Gemara. I never heard that. Har Sinai, Mount Sinai. I thought it was like a place, Sinai, whatever it is. The Gemara says the reason why it's called Har Sinai, Mount Sinai, is because it's the mountain that hatred came down to the nations of the world. Akum stands for Avodas Kol Chad Mazalos, from the nations of the world. We have been hated from our very inception. I know this is a cause for celebration, right? We've been hated from, bring out the trumpet. We've been hated from our very inception. I'm told it's a good movie, I never saw it, but we've been hated from the very, very beginning. For those who do speak a little Hebrew, you may be a little flustered and bothered by this because Sinai is spelled Samach Yud Nun Yud and Sinai is spelled Sin Nun Aleph Hey. They're spelled differently. Why are you comparing them? The answer is... So that's one answer. I'm going to give you a second one though. The second answer is one is Aramaic and one is Hebrew. For those of you Steinmerker, you take a note. Next time it says the word Sinna, look in the Arami, look in the Targum, and you'll see it as the letters spelled Samach Nun. Right, so we have over there. That is that these are the same word, just in different languages. We've been hated from our very inception. And this is, take a look. You see something amazing. If you hate black people, all right, that took a turn. I think this is the wrong presentation. If you hate black people, what do you call? Even if it's not accurate, what are you called? You're called a racist. If you hate white people, what are you called? A racist. If you hate Arabs, what are you called? Even if it's not true. Islamophobe is not accurate because that means a fear of, right? But it's called a racist. If you hate Asians, what do you call? A racist. If you hate Jews, what are you called? And isn't that nice? We have our own special word. It's so nice. It's so nice. Anti-Semitic. Now, what is anti-Semite? What is anti-Semitism? Let's take a look. Anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism. Anti-noun. Discrimination against or prejudice or hostility toward Jews. Now, there are many in this room that may be quite clever, and you want to pull an etymological move, and that's nice. I'm going to help you with that. Etymological move means like this. Etymology means the origin of words and where they come from. And if you break down the word anti-Semitism, anti means against Semitism. Who speaks Hebrew? Anyone speak Hebrew? How do you say anti-Semitism in Hebrew? Anti-Shemiut. Anti-Shem. Why is it called anti-Shemiut? Because it's anti-shame. Who's shame? Noah had 3 sons. Shem, Cham, and Yafes. Shem, Semite, shame is where the Jews come from. Where do the Jews come from? Shame. So if you hate Jews, you're an anti-Semite. Where do the Arabs come from? Shame. Shame. So if you hate Arabs, you should be called an anti-Semite, but you're not. How come? You're right etymologically, it's just not true historically. Historically speaking, we have the following. There was a fellow by the name of Wilhelm Marr, who was a German journalist in 1879. Just note that date, 1879. That's 10 years before Hitler was born, and yet still there was such an anti-Semitism going on in Germany that he created a word. He created the word anti-Semitism. It is hatred towards Jews. Although you're right, the word can mean different things, but the actual historical beginnings of that word was against the Jew. And there's a lot of words that are made just for Jews. You heard the word pogrom? Have you heard the word pogrom? Pogrom was originally Jews. Holocaust originally was for Jews. Ghetto? Yo, I'm from the ghetto. Really? You wear a Star of David behind barbed wire? Because that's the origin of the word. Money? Oh, sorry. Anyway, the point is that there's such a hatred, it has its own thing. I don't know why you're laughing. It is what it is. Okay, so now, the uniqueness of the hatred toward the Jew, and this goes back to your point before about other people, there's this interesting uniqueness about it. Universality, intentional, longevity, rationality. Where around the world are we hated? That's correct. It's a phenomenal. It's a real crazy concept. Oh no, but I met someone who doesn't hate you. Good, one person. Yes, we all met that same one person. Right, then we have intensity. This is probably going to be a black box. Right, we have to fix that. If you don't like your neighbor, right, and you say like, I really don't like my neighbor. I want to egg their house, cut their phone line. No, I have a plan. I'll kill them and all of their family anywhere found in the world. Bro, tranquilo. You gotta chill. You know what I'm saying? Intensity. Longevity, also a box, I believe. How long have we been hated? What's that? I don't know why that's there. Anyway, so how long have we been hated? We've been hated from our very inception. Again, from the very beginning of it. It's a pretty crazy concept. Then we have irrationality. Irrationality. You know why people hate Jews? Whiteboard. The reason why they hate them, stuff. The reason why they hate them is because they're rich, they're poor, they're beautiful, they're ugly, they're different, they're the same, powerful, weak, and dominant, passive leaders, followers, socialist, capitalists, archaic, modern, conservative, radical. I can't stand those religious fanatics. They're such atheists. Every generation blames the Jew before. We are the scapegoat for everything. You can ask one person twice and they'll tell you, I can't stand those Jews. They run the government. You know what I mean? They're such separatists and they have like their own system. 1 second, what? And then the third one will say both. It's like, there's always going to be something we're blamed for. It's not rational. It's just whatever we're looking for to be able to do. If anyone learned anything about the Holocaust and anything about Hitler, he came along, he was a king at doing this, of finding all the issues in the world and attaching them to us. Crazy concept. And I think, though, the number one study, if I remember correctly, the number one study ever done on anti-Semitism was done by a Professor Cohen. He has a lot of work out there. Professor Sacha Baron Cohen. Now, is anyone who does not know who this is? Raise your hand. Okay, I was hoping there was some hope for mankind. I guess that's it. Who's English? Any English people in the room? Yeah, where are you from? London?
English.
You know him? Yeah, very well. Speak English. Okay, so
my dad did break us Kohanim with in the Rosh Hashanah, and he was like saying Amen with so much strength. And he was married to a non-Jew, and then I think they separated. I think he's
from your dad.
He's becoming star.
Yeah,
Hashem's moving star.
Hashem is your dad.
And I shook his hand.
You shook Hashem, your dad's hand.
I shook his hand at Shalom.
Shalom. Very good. All right, so you met the guy before?
No.
Okay, so his dad did, by the way. Just want to let you
And
know.
I did.
And he did. Okay. Sacha Baron Cohen, for those who are just too embarrassed to say, is a Jewish. Period. That's how he would say it. He's a Jewish. Anyway, he's a Jew from London. I think originally from London, and he made a lot of characters. We're not going to go into all of them. Yes. Anyway, so Bruno. But anyway, the point is that he came along and he made a lot of films, and a lot of them are quite anti-Semitic. There's a lot of anti-Semitism in his stuff. The question is, why would he do that? And there's actually two answers to that. Number one is a lot of money. That's number one. That word that we created, money. He wants to go and work for it. The best way to make money is just if you want to be famous, do something with the Jews. To be famous or infamous, but the bottom line is you got to get somewhere. He came along and, number one is money, but he actually started as a project in uni that he wanted to show something. His grandfather was a survivor of Auschwitz. And I'm assuming most did not know that, right? He was a survivor of Auschwitz, and he wanted to show the world that even if someone doesn't know what a Jew is, they're still going to hate them. And he went out and started showing this concept. You'll hate Jews even if you don't know anything about them. That's when he came out with this hit single, Throw the Jew Down the Well. You must have hit the charts in the Jewish world. Right after Put on Your Yarmulke, it's time for Hanukkah. Yeah? And basically what he does is, for those who don't know, he goes to Arizona, some bar in Arizona. He starts singing this song. In my country we have a problem, and the problem is the Jew. Throw the Jew down the well. And the whole crowd's like, throw the Jew down the well, so my country can be free. So his country can be free. We must grab him by his horns, and then we'll have a big party. And everyone's celebrating that. Imagine the guy would have got up at Jason still. What's your name? Yeah.
Sam.
Jason. Imagine the person would go ahead and say the following. Did we meet?
No.
Hey. I could have sworn. Oh gosh. Okay. Imagine someone got up in a bar and started singing a song. Throw the midget down the well. Everyone would be like, oh my goodness, that's terrible. Vertically challenged. How dare you? Heightly scared. Like, how could you call him that? Yeah. But you go and say, throw the Jew down the well. Everyone's like, yup. Everybody gets in on it. It's a scary concept. Now, it used to be in this idea, I'd have to discuss it more. But anyone alive today, I don't need to say anymore. If you're aware at all of what's happening in the world, anywhere, right? It's the craziest concept. Where are you from in Canada?
Toronto.
You're from Toronto. So next door, think of like a 10-minute drive from you is Montreal. Now in Montreal, yeah, it's very good response, very good. Most get so mad at me, like it's not next door. New Zealand is not Australia, right? So the point is that in Montreal this past summer, I know what they did this summer. Did anyone remember the case of that Hasidic guy who was walking down the street and a Muslim man attacked him? And anyone know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah.
Which one? I think Muhammad was his name. I know what you mean. Anyway, so point is
You
that
have two Daniels, one from Montreal, one from
Yeah.
Toronto.
who's Montreal?
I'm from Montreal,
Oui.
Ah, yeah, kimono.
Je me souviens. So yeah, the following. The guy got attacked by a Muslim, and he got beaten up, he got thrown on the ground. There's videos of it. You're talking about evidence, straight up videos, the whole thing. The daughter's right there yelling, Tate, like, ich will sein, oh, ich will, Yure Shema. They're trying to help us out. The whole thing. Their father. Anyway, the guy got arrested. They brought him to court. And the prosecution came against him. And the judge said, it was a hot day. It was a hot day. Look this up. I make things up. Almost this whole thing's made up. This part is not made up. Okay, maybe this part is made up. I'm not sure. But check. Fact check everything. The guy said, it was a hot day. It was hot for him. So that's why he beat up a Jew in the middle of the street. What? It's called anti-Semitism, right? This is a reality. In hindsight, would we say that this is something that makes sense to be putting forth and having survival? What do you got?
Wouldn't you say that's sort of just a subset of the modern progressive culture, where people that do evil things, they're not doing it because they're evil people. They're doing it because the system forced them to. The guy, like some.
I was just following orders.
No, he's just some criminal. He's just he gets arrested for stealing, and then he gets released a day later. Then he goes and beats someone up, and then he gets released a day later. Then he goes and murders someone. Okay, we'll put him in jail for 5 years, and then we'll let him out after 2.5 years for good behavior.
No, I understand you just described the judiciary system, but what's the point? What do you say?
Well, the point is, it's a general, the general progressive hatred of self, and just hatred of what their ancestors have built that results in them saying that they're deciding that they're going to do these actions. And it's not unique what they're doing to the Jews. That is what happened to a Jew.
Listen, I'm from New York, and I'm a little slow. I missed something. What am I missing? Someone else help me if you're gonna get it.
It doesn't seem unique to the Jews.
Well, it's not unique to the Jew. That's the point.
Yeah, that.
Oh, okay, fine. That's fine. It was brought up earlier. It doesn't have to be unique. That someone else should say that was also hated. Okay, there is something going on though that the entire world knows about anti-Semitism. Though, when I say it's not unique to be hated, that's true. To be hated in the level that we are hated, that's pretty unique. The universality, the longevity, the irrationality. And when you go into all these different things, you start taking a look. Find me another culture that went through such an idea. They went through every single thing constantly around the world according to everyone. There's something going on over here. I think that would be called strike number 3. Now, what would you expect to happen from such a people if you were able to prophesize correctly that we're going to be small in number, hated by everyone, and exiled and dispersed? Would you expect, and I'm telling you now, looking in hindsight, would you expect those people to be surviving and thriving? That's the question. Is that the expectation?
Yes, but only through assimilation.
Oh, in other words, no. Right? So the answer is straight up no, and it's a crazy, scary concept over here. Yet we are here. So I would personally expect there to be, my expectation would be that you wouldn't find survival in this, and if you would, they'd be crawling on the floor bleeding from every crevice, like waiting to get kicked in the head again. And that brings me obviously to my next prophecy, that not only are we going to survive, but we are going to be a light unto the nations. Right, that makes a lot of sense. We are going to be at the forefront of every field all the time throughout history. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Or maybe it doesn't make so much sense at all. And let's take a look and see what this is actually prophesied straight up. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great. You will become a blessing. I will bless those that bless you and curse you to curse you. Through you, all the communities of the earth shall be blessed. You're going to be the epicenter of the world. A blessing and cursing is coming through you. Or as it said in Isaiah straight up, the Lord have called you in righteousness and will hold your hand and keep you. I will establish you as a covenant of the people for a light unto the nations. And as it goes more clearly, look at the underline over here. Nations shall then go by your light and kings by your radiant illumination. We are going to impact the world in a crazy way. And I ask you, is it true? Have the Jews impacted the world in any way, shape, or form?
Yes.
And that's a lot secular as well. There's a major impact of what's going on over here. It is interesting to take a look at a lot of the backstories of many of these people. You'll find their actual connection to religion itself, not only as Jews, right? It's a fascinating concept. Let's show a short list of things, you know? This guy over here, who's that? Einstein.
Einstein, yeah.
Fascinating history, by the way. Just looking into his connection with orthodoxy. It was a crazy stories about that. But all right, nonetheless, I don't think it's stuck on that. Yeah, he's kind of impacted the world. Well, what's this over here? The Nobel Prize, right? The Jews are less than 0.25% of the world population, but over 25% of Nobel Prize winners are Jews. What's this over here? A kosher phone. Okay, that's called cell phone technology created by Jews. Waze created by a Jew. Facebook stolen by, created by a Jew. Right? So yeah, we've absolutely, Google or Oracle or like basically everything. Same guy, right? So you're saying like an amazing concept. Moshe Chaim David Yehuda. Right? So how have we impacted the world, my friends? We've impacted the world in some crazy ways. But is that what we mean when we say that we're going to be a light into the nations, be a secular scientist and mathematician?
No.
The answer is we mean something so much more than that. We mean something called monotheism. The fact that there is one God, the fact that there is some system of ethics and morality that are going to impact the world in a crazy way. This is one of my favorite quotes. I want to show you a quote from one of the presidents.
How do we know that?
How do we know what?
That light unto the nations means monotheism.
Well, light unto the nations, the whole concept of light unto the nations, what we mean by that is a way of life. Meaning, forget the word monotheism. We don't mean monotheism.
Okay.
What I mean by monotheism is a concept of morality and ethics, of an actual absolute starting point of giving us something.
Monotheism teaches us that?
Absolutely, sure.
You can be an ethical person and believe in multiple gods.
No, you can't. You could be a relatively ethical person, depending on the relativity of the particular era. That all depends on how you define it. Without having a definition, you don't have a definition, right? In which case, you'd have to have one thing in order to make that thing. And that would become, there's only one truth, there's only one meaning, there's only one purpose. We could all have our own connections with things, and we can also create certain meaning and purpose for us and start creating ideas that are important to us and living with them. That doesn't mean it's absolute, that just means it's subjective to what I am. Monotheism, assuming that it exists, is telling you the concept of an actual system that's coming from a God. And that one God is teaching you a particular concept. And that's where it would be stemming from. But still, I want to give you this quote. This quote is from one of the presidents of the United States of America. There was a president named John Adams, second president. I want to give a little comment. You talk about Trump, but what about Biden? I want to quote you, just outgoing President Biden. I want to give you one quote from Biden first. Okay, now to John Adams. So this is a second. Which snowflake did I offend? Where are you? Come on. Okay. Anyway, Kamala 2020 something. Okay, so now, John Adams was a bit of a loony bin, right? If anybody learned a little bit about him, he was a Looney Tune. He was a bit out there. But he still said the following idea, which I thought was phenomenal. Maybe that's why he was the only one who was able to say this. I will insist that the Hebrews have done more to civilize men than any other nation. If I were an atheist and believed in blind eternal fate, I should still believe that fate had ordained the Jews to be the most essential instrument for civilizing the nations. If I were an atheist of the other sect, I should believe that chance had ordered the Jews to preserve and propagate to all mankind the doctrine of a supreme, intelligent, wise, almighty sovereign of the universe, which I believe to be the great essential principle of all morality and consequently of all civilization. They are the most glorious nation that had ever inhabited this earth. The Romans and the Empire were but a bauble in comparison to the Jews. They have given religion to 3/4 of the globe and have influenced the affairs of mankind more and more happily than any other nation, ancient or modern. When I saw it, it was amazing. And people are running away from Judaism. Are we crazy? It's just, we're not crazy to run away from Judaism. It's just we're uninformed. There's so much here. There's so much. It's so rich. It's so deep. It's just unbelievable. Okay, I have much more to say. Why?
Who paid this guy to write this?
Yeah, probably George, the president before. Anyway, the point is that's an amazing concept to take a look, is that we're going to be a light into the nations. Just two more. Hold your questions until after. No one is raising, but if you have to afterwards, I'm taking anything you want. Take a little break and I'm open. You can punch me, knock me out. Here we go. So we got, please don't knock me out though. Okay, so the following. After light into the nations, we have what's called interdependence. Drop the Y, it shouldn't be there. Interdependence. That is a relationship between the land and the people. I'm sure many of you or some of you know someone who's a farmer and may say they love their land. But how many of those farmers will say that their land loves them? I guess it depends what they're growing. Right? But other than that, second that's the thing. I love the land. But a relationship between the Jewish people and the land of Israel. This is a phenomenal concept. Take a look at this quote over here. What did the land of Israel look like before the Jewish people came here? I have come down to rescue. They're in Egypt, right? I've come down to rescue them from Egypt's power. I'll bring them out of that land to a good, spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey. It's a bat halav. Halav, we're talking about some miel, some leche. We're going to get this going. Yeah, delicious. What? Come on, people, it's going. It's going to be an amazing thing. Okay, so we got this delicious, unbelievable land. And if you don't believe it from that idea, this is a quote from Josephus, who was living at the time of the temple, and he was certainly not religious, by some accounts probably not even Jewish, but he was a historian and telling the following idea of what would the land of Israel look like by the time of the temple. For the whole area is excellent for crops, their pastures are rich in trees of every kind, so by its fertility, it invites even those least inclined to work on the land. In fact, every inch of it has been cultivated by the inhabitants, not a parcel goes to waste. It's thickly covered with towns, and thanks to the natural abundance of the soil, the many villages are so densely populated, the smallest of them has more than 15,000 inhabitants. If you don't understand what that means, is the land is awesome. It's what we call the Fertile Crescent. Things are growing like crazy. It's there. It's unbelievable. But what happens when the Jewish people leave this land? You have this gorgeous, beautiful land. And don't think no one else tried to live here, right? Byzantines, Babylonians, so don't get me started on the Mamluks, the Fatimids, and the Abbasids. So many people tried to make things grow and make things happen. They were able to survive in the land, but never did it flourish and did it come to a point where this unbelievable thing. When the Jewish people are there, it's beautiful. What happens when we leave? So devastated while I leave the land that your enemies who live there will be astonished. Your land will remain desolate and your cities in ruins. And we know this over here, if you don't take it from this beautiful land actually became, once we left, we got kicked off the land, a barren, desolate wasteland. And that's not me, that's actually a quote back from our boy from the beginning, Mark Twain, who I like to call Yellow Circle Head Boy. Okay, this is a picture of Mark Twain on a journey. That journey was to the land of Israel. That journey was the land of Israel in the year 1867. Now you have to understand, relatively speaking, that is very recent. You have to understand, we're talking about 150 some odd years ago. One of you is going to do the math and go, actually, I got it. About 150. And we're talking about the idea, he came to Israel and he said the following about the land of Israel. We traverse some miles of desolate country whose soil is rich but is given wholly to weeds, with an S. A silent, mournful expanse. A desolation is here that not even imagination can grace with the pomp of life in action. We reached Tabor safely. We never saw a human being in the whole route. We pressed on toward the goal of our crusade, renowned Jerusalem. The further we went, the hotter the sun got, the more rocky and bare, repulsive and dreary the landscape became. There was hardly a tree or a shrub anywhere. Even the olive and the cactus, those fast friends of the worthless soil, had almost deserted the country. No landscape exists that is more tiresome to the eye than that which bounds the approaches to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is mournful, dreary, and lifeless. I would not desire to live here. It is a hopeless, dreary, heartbroken land. Palestine sits in sackcloth and ashes. Palestine is no more of this Palestine is no more of this workday world. It is sacred to poetry and tradition. It is dreamland. Now I ask you, is that true? Is Palestine no more of this workday world? You right-wing Zionist. So is Israel part of the workday world? Yes or no? Israel is very much involved in the workday world. Besides technology, weapons, medicine, straight up agriculture. 2005, there's a place called Gaza. You heard of it before? There's a place called Gush Katif. The Jews that live in Gush Katif, and what happens? They're taken and thrown out of their land by someone came along and they kicked them out. The same guy actually got the land the first one. Fine. But he kicked them out of the land of Israel, right? They kicked them out of this area and they gave it away to the Arabs. That area was called Gush Katif. It was supplying the country with vegetables. Not just the country, but it was exporting $200 million a year of produce. That's a lot of lettuce. We're very much of this workday world. Just when the Jews are here, things grow. When we leave, all of a sudden things start to change. Try to imagine the Native Americans as, before the white man arriveth. And the Native Americans are there and they see the white man is coming. What happens? The chief calls everyone together and says, land. When white man arriveth, remain barren, desolate, grow nothingeth. Small chief, big river, little bear, let's go. And we know the moment that the Native Americans left Native America, America has remained a barren, desolate wasteland. But that's not true. They became a superpower of the world, second only to China. Trump's working on it. But they built a jungle, a concrete one. I'm not sure again why that picture's there. But the point is, unbelievable concept about we're interdependence. And the last but not least, though, is return again, come back. The fact that the Jewish people are going to come back to the land of Israel. What? Say it again. Come back now. What? What you talking about? Yeah, come. Then we're going to come back to the land of Israel. Where do we find actually prophesied in my book? And the Lord your God shall return you from your captivity and have compassion upon you. He shall return and gather you from the land of the nations. And the Lord your God will bring you into the land your fathers inherited. You will acquire it, and he will make you even more prosperous and numerous than your fathers. Or another quote from Jeremiah was, for thus says God, shout with joy for Jacob. Exalt at the nations, the heaven nations, and proclaim your praise and say, O God, deliver your people, the remnant of Israel. Behold, I'll bring them back from the northern lands and gather them from the ends of the world. My friends, does anybody know statistically, percentage-wise, how many Jews were living in the land of Israel in the year 1900, percentage-wise? 0.5 is correct for 200, the daily double. Okay, but does anyone know today, percentage-wise, how many Jews are living in the land of Israel?
5?
Yeah, half.
Less than
If it was half, we would have
Like 60%.
No, a little less than half.
Okay, I don't know either, but anyway, that's not the point. The point is, okay, they're rated like 48%. The answer is it's over 50%, over 50%, which is a phenomenal thing. You realize in the entire world, how many Jews are living in Israel? More than 50%. That is unbelievable. 120 years to go from 0.5 to go to knock that over a couple decimal point. That is an incredible, oh, not a couple, but only, a couple, right? Then it comes out to 50%. That's a crazy concept. And you take a look and you see this barren, desolate wasteland, and here we are, people are coming along and they're rebuilding it and coming back to this beautiful thing of what's going on. And that's simply because we're coming home. I mean, just try to imagine. Think about this idea. You'd be speaking, I guess you guys are getting younger and younger, but you speak to your great-grandparents who maybe are no longer alive, and you were to tell them, we're going to be sitting opposite the Western Wall learning Torah one day. They say, boy, what you smoking? And you say, Grandma, that's none of your business, but it's going to happen. You think it off your mind. It doesn't make any sense. You're going to sit learning Torah opposite the cult after being exiled and dispersed and chucked all over the world? That's a crazy concept. But the reason I'm stalling is for the piano solo. Coming home, tell your mom, coming home. I don't know the words, but the point is that when you put these things together, it's a phenomenal concept to say that we're actually going to return to the land, right? We were in the land, we got kicked out, in the land, kicked out, in the land, kicked, what? In the land, kicked, come in the land. It's a crazy concept. You know how many people have been kicked out of the land and came back? That's right, none. But we've been kicked out, came back, kicked out, came back, kicked out, maybe coming back now. Okay, racist with all my cloak. The point is, it's an amazing thing. It's at least an indication of a certain direction, which is quite phenomenal. Gentlemen, I want to put this all together, and I want you to understand something. You just don't imagine you guys have been, some of you, Sam, how are you? So some of you have been here for a little bit of time. You went down to a place called Ben Yehuda. Anybody heard of Ben Yehuda? Yeah? Yeah. So you're like, Vos? Okay, you've been to Ben Yehuda. There's a place in the bottom of Ben Yehuda. It's called Crack Square. Okay? Now the reason it's called Crack Square is because the pavement there is a little uneven and people do crack there. Okay? So I want you to try to imagine as you're standing there, you're visiting, you're doing your thing, suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, someone comes up to you, you're like, yo, listen, listen, yo, listen, escuchen, listen, yo, in 10 minutes, yo, 10 minutos, 10 minutes, there's gonna be a little rumble, yeah, what? Oh, listen, there's gonna be a little rumble.
You're a little too good at that.
I'm actually 42 years clean now. Listen, yo. Thank you for pointing it out. Hi, Gabrielle. Anyway, so listen. In 10 minutes, it's going to be a little rumble. The ground's going to open up. There's going to be 3 golden chariots. They're going to pop out. They're going to circle your head. Oh, I'm sorry, I messed it up. 10 golden chariots. They're going to pop out. They're going to circle your head 3 times, and then they're going to fly away. Yeah, and the guy walks away. Sam, what would you be thinking? Another day at the office. Okay, right? Is that spliff? Right? Okay, they'd be a little bit like, what's happening over here? Okay, are you from England? Amsterdam. Oh, this does fit. Okay. All right, even better than I imagined. Okay, so now, what would you then be thinking? If 10 minutes later, the ground started shaking. And you're like, oh mi Dios, ¿qué es esto? Or you take a step back. Suddenly the ground opens up. 9 golden chariots pop out. You go, I thought 10. A 10th pops out. Circles your head 3 times and then flies away. What would you then be thinking? You didn't do anything. You didn't do crack, smack, PCP, LSD, weed. You didn't even do peyote. Totally sober. You didn't drink anything. Nothing was slipped to you. No, you didn't get any of that Corona stuff. You know what I mean? You didn't even eat the yeshiva food. What would you then be thinking? What was the answer? I mean, that guy knew a little something. That's pretty crazy. Now, listen again. Imagine no one approached you at Crack Square. Just suddenly, the ground shook, opened up, 10 golden chariots popped out, circled 3 times, and flew away. Would that be phenomenal, yes or no? Yes. What puts it above and beyond in our first case, though? Prophecy. The fact that it was predicted before it happened. The fact that we're going to be an eternal nation, that we're going to be exiled and dispersed, and forget about the concept of what people are prophesying. Just the reality of exile and dispersion, and we still exist. Few in number, we still exist. Hated by everyone, we still exist. Put those together, we still exist. And then we're going to be a light to the nations, a relationship between us and the land where here it goes, we leave, it stops, and we're going to come back to the land which no people has ever done before. This is called a statistical impossibility. This is just not a normal thing over here. What puts it above and beyond?
It's all predicted.
The fact that it was predicted beforehand. So when I go and ask you the question, we start in the beginning, we have this thing called the Torah. The question is, did it come from an individual, or did it, a group of people? Did it come from something which is supernatural? And I said to you, I'm going to try to show you this came from an individual. I think we've pretty clearly shown, and if you don't believe so, then great, don't believe so. Don't believe anything that I'm telling you. Look at it yourself. See what makes more sense than less sense. So you understand what makes more sense and less sense. This is all you. This is your life. Do whatever you want. Follow it. Don't follow it. One thing I would ask of you is to take a look and be honest with yourself and challenge yourself. And if it comes out to be that I don't think this is enough, then it's not enough. But if it is enough, then maybe the reason why all these things could have been predicted, because the hand that wrote this book is none other than the hand of the Almighty, of the Lord. Oh, can I get a hallelujah? In which case, that's which is why we say today, that's where it comes out to say that this is the hand of the Lord himself. And that would be, according to Rabbi Dober, we say, a little bit of evidence in a direction that would suggest to say that perhaps this thing called the Torah actually came from the Lord Almighty himself. And with that, my friends, I yield my time. And if anybody has any questions, come meet me right now. And if you don't have any questions, then do not come meet me. Have a great day. Bye.